Good morning. Today is December 13th. My name is Katie, and today I am going to take you on a tour of my vegetable garden. So there's a lot that has changed out here in the last month. I think exactly a month ago is when I shot my last tour. Somebody said to me, when are you going to do your next tour? We've had so much going on that I kind of wanted to finish up some projects so we could show everyone the bigger picture. But everything is starting to fill in. I'm just now starting to get to the point where I'm harvesting things from here and actually using them to cook. Oh. So I hope you enjoy. First thing that's different about since the last time that I did a tour is we actually have gates and fences on these gardens now. Originally, when we only had the one garden, we only had a wooden fence with some chicken wire, and this year we decided that we were going to go T-posts and cattle gates, hoping that they're going to last a little longer than the wood did, especially here in Florida. The next thing that happened, which is really interesting, we got cattle panel trellises put up just the other day. Those went up Friday, and my peas are just now starting to settle into these cattle panel trellises, and these are going to be where I'm going to grow my watermelons, my squashes, my beans, all my vining plants. I'm going to actually grow those up those trellises and those walkways in the spring. And the best part is we're going to put a table right here, and we're going to get some camp cookware, and I'm going to invite people over to actually eat things from the garden in the garden, like have like some brunch out here or some early dinner. I think it's going to be an interesting spring. So I think this is just going to be the most majestic thing ever. Let me get up here. These things are massive. I mean, I am 5'4" and standing on the beds. I can't even touch the tops of these things. So I'm pretty sure a 6'5" man could walk under here with some plants on it and not have any issues. They are pretty sturdy, and I'm just really excited about these. These were like the finishing touch on the whole image I wanted back here, and I think they're absolutely perfect. I can't wait to see what they look like when they're all filled out, even though I know they're going to be a spider haven. That's going to be interesting. My neighbors are going to hear a lot of words come out of my mouth when the spiders move up on these things. Okay, so behind me are 6 17-gallon tubs, and this is how I grow potatoes. Potatoes aren't like a huge crop in my garden. It's really more an experiment just to see what potatoes taste like when you grow them yourselves, as opposed to when you rely on a farmer to grow them for you, or buy them from a farmer or buy them from the grocery store. So before, in the past, I used to purchase my potatoes online, because you want to plant your potatoes around November, and by that time you want them to have sprouts. What I did this year is, with COVID, I couldn't find any companies that were supplying potatoes at the right time for me to plant them in Florida. So I went to the grocery store. I bought little bags of organic potatoes that already had little islets forming on them. I bought a red kind and I bought a gold kind, and I put them in paper bags. I put them in my harvest rack, and I let them sit there for about 2 months, and I just let them grow inside the bags in the darkness. And then I took those potatoes, I put them out here probably about a month ago, and they are just starting to sprout now. If we have a deep frost, I am going to have to cover these containers. They're not going to last through a deep frost, but hopefully by April, May, I'll actually have fresh potatoes that we can harvest. And then what we do is, I don't usually keep my potatoes for dry storage, because during spring it's hard to find a place to dry them properly. But what I do is I cook them just a little bit. I turn them into hash browns, home fries, and we freeze them in freezer bags. And they last about a year in the bags that way, which is also a great tip if you buy potatoes and you always have more than you can eat. Cook them, cut them, freeze them. So behind me are my favorite winter vegetable. I love bok choy. I put it in everything. I make a lot of Asian stir fries. I like to put it in a lot of soups. I like to eat it like spinach and just stir fry it up a little bit. These bok choy look so good. I was going to actually come out here. These are baby bok choy. I could take these at the size that they are, and I could cut these completely out of the garden, and I could use these for a fermenting project that I want to do. I want to ferment some bok choy. I'm thinking this weekend, but this area of the garden that I have bok choy in, it just looks so perfect that I think this is going to become my cutting bok choy. So what I can do is I can completely cut the bok choy at the stem when it's this size, any size really, and I can eat it, or I can let it get fully grown. Or what you can do is you can come out here and you can start cutting the outer leaves that are older and leaving the inside of the plant, and the inside of the plant will continue to grow. So over here I have a bowl with some cool water in it. Here in Florida, I always leave a bowl of cool water just so I know that these aren't going to wilt by the time that I bring them in the house, because I'm going to be doing a couple things in the garden before I go back in there. I'm not just going to run these back inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a look at my bok choy, and I am gonna cut and eat the outer stems, leave the inside. Now you never wanna take more than 2/3 of the plant at once because you wanna give the plant a chance to repropagate its leaves. So you're just gonna go along the outside with your knife, be cautious of the stem, and you're gonna cut your leaves. You wanna cut the ring of outside leaves, and I even eat the baby leaves. And so for one plant, ideally this is what I'm gonna leave left. So now I'm just gonna come through all of these plants, take off some of these outer stems, and I am gonna use this bok choy to make a stir fry for lunch. So next to my bok choy, I have my radish beds. Now if you notice, I have some yellowing on the lower leaves here. I'm just gonna pull these yellow leaves off. Yellowing usually, or just coloration usually means that there is not enough of usually nitrogen in your soil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come through here today, and I am gonna spray these with nitrogen. And this is just user error. I didn't test my soil, and I'm using compost that I bought from a gentleman out in Ocala that uses composted oak trees and oak leaves. So he did warn me, make sure you know how much fertilizer is in the soil, and I didn't. So I'm gonna have to come out here and fix that. Also, check these guys out. These are French breakfast radishes, and they are peeking out of the ground, and I'm actually gonna grab some of these. This is ready. I am gonna take this guy inside, and I am gonna make a salad from him with this for lunch because these are just too cool not to eat. And the more that I look at these, the tops on them are pretty small too, so the bulbs are developing. And I think if you remember from a video I talked about that if you have nitrogen, you're growing green growth, phosphorus is growing root development, and potassium is your general overall health of the plant. So I have bulbs, I just don't have tops, so I need nitrogen. I mean, check that out, breakfast and lunch are already starting to solve themselves. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but we finished putting the wood chip down, and it looks fantastic. I am in love with this wood chip. This is from actually the same sawmill that we bought the boards from, and this is just cypress wood chip. I think it costs us maybe 60 bucks to fill this entire area. So go up there with the trailer, super cheap, they're super awesome, and it will last a lot longer than mulch. So these peas are just filling in everywhere, and I don't know if this is a deficiency or if this is just the way these plants look. These are sugar magnolia. They're supposed to be this wonderful purple potted sweet pea, but I've never grown them before. So peas don't like a lot of nitrogen, so I'm not gonna go that route. I'm just gonna kind of leave them be, maybe give them some kelp and see what happens. Then over here are your regular sugar snap peas, which are also doing well, looking dewy in the morning sun. Here I have my garlic, and I actually think this is garlic. I don't think these shallots are starting. Oh wait, what's this? Is that a start? Yes, that's a start to my shallot. It's official. My Dutch shallots are actually growing. Oh look, there's another one. So this is the 3 types of garlic. These were planted a month ago, and they will probably be ready for harvest, I'm guessing May. I'm probably gonna harvest them in the beginning of May. We'll start eating them a little earlier while they have smaller bulbs, but when I do a harvest for drying, where we're gonna have to dry them inside under some fans, it's gonna take really that long for these to develop bulbs. Here we got more peas. These are the gold peas, the golden snow peas, and these are regular snow peas, which today I have to come through here and thin this. These are way too close together. I'll make a salad from the ones that aren't too fibrous, and then I'm gonna push them more up to the cattle panels so that they start going up the trellises. So behind me is what is probably gonna be my new favorite vegetable. I'm starting to fall in love with these little things, which makes sense because it is a relative of bok choy. This is tatsoi. I have still never tasted the actual version of tatsoi that's an adult. I've only been eating the little ones coming in here, but I am just in love with the way these plants look. And I mean, look at them, how cool is that? They're just so interesting. They're so bushy. Got these round leaves, nice dark green color. So here's some Swiss chard too, which is not for me, this is for one of my coworkers. I actually don't like Swiss chard. So on that note, if you have any way to cook Swiss chard that I might actually like, or a way to ferment it, let me know, because other people say it's delicious. I think it tastes awful. I think it's the worst vegetable ever. So now here behind me is my partial mistake. This is my kale and collard bed, and I think last time I made a video I mentioned that I started everything in soil blocks. I made the soil blocks way too tight. The plants didn't have enough space to get a good start. So some of these plants are doing okay, some of these plants are not doing so good at all. And today I'm actually going to go and I'm going to seed next to the plants that are already in the beds. You can see here, this is my original kale. And for the time that I started this kale should be massive by now, and it's not, and that is my fault. So here I just direct sowed some kale seeds, and I'm thinking that those are coming up a lot healthier and a lot stronger already than the kale that I started inside. And that is my fault. That is my gardening error. But then again, you have this one Siberian kale that is just doing fantastic, and all his counterparts are not. Here again, you have one kale doing wonderful, counterparts are not, and I don't even have collards at all, basically, and those plants should be enough for me to be able to make collards from and continuously keep picking and harvesting them from this bed. Down at the end, I have my Monzumos, which are my Chinese mustards, which I love, which again are having some odd growth. So I'm guessing that this bed also is probably not fertilized appropriately. I probably did something wrong, and it's probably not scattered with a ratio to where all the plants are happy. So I'm gonna have to fix that. Now, one of the reasons why this kale bed is actually really upsetting to me right now is because I went ahead and I bought a juicer. So you guys are gonna actually see a new project that I'm working on, and I am gonna be doing my version of a whole food project, and I'm gonna be doing what I do best. I'm gonna be researching and eating. So I am a researcher, that is what I'm trained to do. This garden actually was an experiment. I've only been a gardener for about 3.5 years now, and I am self-taught. I taught myself off books. I taught myself off some watching YouTube. I don't watch videos as much as I read books. I'm really a book person. But I am going to be continuing to write about gardening, but my new writing project is going to be about all different arrays of food, where my food comes from, access to local food, how we find food, what is in my food, how my body is responding to it. So this is probably going to be a 1 to 2 year project. And part of that project is going to start out where I am going to cleanse myself of all the toxins that are in my body. And that includes drinking a lot of fresh juice from the garden, trying to get as much nutrients into me as possible. So I went ahead and bought a juicer, and then after I purchased my juicer, I realized that my kale bed was just going to keep failing for a while. So I can juice bok choys, I can juice lettuces. My cabbages are doing fantastic, but I don't know about you, I really don't want to go to work and have to drink cabbage juice for breakfast. So I have to find a solution to this kale problem, and I have to find it quickly. Now, one thing that I will be able to juice are going to be the beets, what I have behind me here. I have some shoddy germination coming out here. I started thinning these a little earlier. Down here I have some Detroit golden beets. I have sugar beets, which I'm going to use to make a syrup, and I'm going to try to use this as a natural sweetener. I have some Crosby Egyptian beets, and down here I have some golden boy beets. And my germination is kind of shoddy. I think that's partially a watering issue because I'm not the only person watering out here. And I also think it's a hardening off issue. There are some plants here that at the bottom of the plant, my little roots are getting this little brown part on the stem, and the plant is kind of just collapsing over and dying. That's a hardening off thing. That means that the plants are having too much water. They are not happy, it's inconsistent, it's too much for them to really get started and get settled. So be aware. Another thing that you're going to see with beets a lot is my beets get succumb to cutworms constantly, and birds. I love beet greens. I think they are delicious. I'm probably going to be posting a lot of videos juicing a lot of beet greens and a lot of beets. But the birds like them just as much as I do. So just be careful. And bird netting is a great way to keep them off of everything here in the garden. You could put bird netting over anything and it will protect them. But the greatest bird protector of all is this one. She is the garden guardian. So if you remember from my last video, I keep bragging about Chinese cabbage because I've never grown them before. Behind me is my Chinese cabbage bed and my radicchio plants as well. And they are starting to form cabbage heads already. I am super excited about this. I am ready to start making kimchi. I also love just regular roasted cabbage. It is so good. If you really get into gardening, the more you get into it, that's what happens. I work quite a amount of overtime shifts just so I can come out here and have the garden exactly the way that I want it, but it's definitely worth it for anyone interested. So here I have some radicchio plants, which I have never grown radicchio before. I don't think I've ever eaten radicchio, which is a type of chicory. But these little guys are just starting to form heads now. And I did read right here, you can see it's starting to form a head. Here it's starting to form a head. And I read that it's really hard to get them to do that, and mine are doing it all on their own. So I'm just gonna let them keep going. And then here are my cabbages. So this cabbage is starting to form a dense head in the center. They are so beautiful. They are like the flower of the green vegetable world. I think they are just so cool. It got cold one day, you can see here, and they just started closing up, which is so cool. My purple ones are doing the same thing, and they just have these beautiful colors on them. It's just dark purple. And my new thing is dark vegetables. These have what are called anthromycins in them, which is why they turn red. They're supposed to be really good for you. I'm gonna start doing some more research about why they are so good for you and what they do for the body. But man, are they beautiful. The most important part of my morning garden walks is coffee. I highly recommend everybody, if you have a garden, go out there and drink your coffee, wake yourself up, walk around, and just look at everything, just take it all in. Just watch the world change right before your eyes. So here behind me, I have regular shelling peas, which are gonna be canned and frozen. They're gonna be put into sorts of, oh my God, there's bluebirds right there. I don't know if you guys could see them, they're so cute. We get bluebirds and blue jays and ravens and hawks and cardinals. We have some cardinals that live over by my hammock. I just love watching the birds. I just wish they wouldn't be so snobbish when they eat my garden. They don't just eat a little bit, they take everything. So behind me here, I have a bed of turnips and a bed of rutabagas, which I actually came in here and I thinned these plants out Friday. Came and thinned these plants out Friday, hoping that the birds aren't gonna eat them. I'm gonna try to get some bigger plants faster. On the other side, over here, I have all my lettuces growing in. Oh, hello. There's a fire ant in my coffee. So behind me here is my lettuce bed. Everything is starting to fill in nicely. I have my spinach down there, which is yellowing a little bit. I think it needs some nitrogen. Remember, leafy greens love nitrogen. So if you start to see yellowing, just give it some nitrogen. And kelp, everything loves kelp. So down here in the center, I have this one little bare spot, and I'm thinking that was seeds. I think my seeds were bad. I don't think that was human error. I don't think I skipped a whole area that's just a rectangle, and that is too uniform to be bird damage or bug damage. So we're gonna blame that on the seed. I'm gonna throw that seed away, and then I am going to start a different type of seed that worked really well for me last year over there. Now, if you look, these plants have been thinned down. They are starting to get quite big. I think there's maybe 3 right here. I usually go down to the root and I separate them. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna come out here and all these big plants, I'm gonna separate 1 and 2. I'm gonna leave this guy in the center. I'm gonna eat those guys with some radishes in a salad. And now I've already come out here into this bed, and I've done that several times. But you can see I wait until they keep getting bigger. Every time they get bigger, I take a couple more out of the pile and then let the rest grow in. So I think that one is just 1 per, and the more that you space them, the bigger they're gonna get. I also need to go through and pull out some of the spinach because they are not gonna be like being that close to each other. So these are just some frizzy mustard greens. You can kind of see them coming in there. They're a cool looking thing. I have never grown this specific type of mustard. This is a giant red mustard. I have never grown this either. So this is kind of an experiment. Down there I have some kohlrabi down these beds. Here I have more peas. We're gonna have a lot of peas this year as long as we don't get a hard freeze. Speaking of freezes, here in Florida, especially in my microclimate, I live in between Brooksville and above Spring Hill. So we do get we get colder weather up here. This is what I use. I just cover everything with sheet plastic. You can get it at Home Depot. It's relatively cheap. You can use it multiple times. If it gets a hole in it, you can just put some duct tape on it. Buy the heavier duty stuff. It is 6 millimeters. The black is usually what I solarize the garden beds with, but I didn't have enough time when we had our last freeze to go out and buy the clear. If you buy clear plastic, you can actually leave it on your beds if it's gonna be cold the next day, and it will just act as a greenhouse. Also, make sure that you're adding something in. I got tomato trellises here to get some support on the top. I'll show you in the next garden. When we had our last deep frost that moved in, we had 2 days, one day where it did get below 32 and it froze. Anything that was touching the plastic, those green leaves did get burn damage on them. Now, if I had not covered with plastic, the wind would have come through and all of the plants probably would have been burned. So back to the lunch topic, I'm going to be making some bok choy stir fry, and I do not have any spring onions that are ready. So I'm going to improvise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here. These are my shallots, and they have a lot more tops than they need. What I'm actually going to do is come out here and just slice some of these bigger ones that are already starting to fall over. And I'm going to take these in, and these are going to add a delicious taste to my stir fry. Doing this is also going to encourage the plant to create more tops, which is going to have a healthier plant. And I can continuously keep doing this. Once my onions get big enough, I can do this to onions. You can also do this to garlic. Now these aren't chives. These are just the shoots and the greens. I just come over anything that looks like it has some damage on it or it's starting to topple. I'll just take that first, let the plant keep its healthy stalks. And these are stronger than you think they are. So if you're gonna put them in a stir fry or a salad, just to let you know, you don't need as many as you think you do. Oh, look, a fly. So this is my last bed that I have out here in the new garden area. And here I am very proud to admit I have finally grown my own celery from seed, and I have not killed the seedlings inside before they've gone out. So back here I have two different types of celery. I have just your regular green stalk celery, and I have golden Pascal celery mixed in, which is just a golden colored celery. Some of these are turning yellow. I think it's a nitrogen deficiency, but some of these are supposed to turn yellow because they're a golden variety. So I don't know if they're just turning yellow because they finally got authentic sunlight and they're not being grown from a lamp. And then here I am just at awe with Chinese celery. This is from Baker Creek. I have the pink variety and the white variety, and I am really like blown away by these. They grow so fast. They grow so much more rapidly than regular celery does. I just transplanted these out and I'm already seeing new growth, and they stabilized very well after transplant. Other celeries, you have to be very particular about the day you plant them, or else they will wilt and they will die. They do not like to be transplanted just kind of willy-nilly. So these are the pink variety, and then here is the white variety. They are getting new growth just rapidly. I actually planted a bunch of these out in the other garden in some space that I had where things didn't make it. This is another experiment that I think is going really well, and we're gonna see kind of what happens next. You can see how dark these pink ones are. And of course here at the end of the bed, dun dun dun, more bok choy. So I have 3 more varieties of bok choy growing down here. If you can tell, I really like bok choy. Okay, so I finally have plants in the greenhouse. It is toasty in here, so I'm gonna try to make this quick. Just plants and 3 tiny Tim plants, the ones in the big planters. These are dwarf tomato varieties. They will get to be about 2.5 feet tall. They are made to be grown in pots. They do not want to be out in a regular garden bed. These are still settling in. The greenhouse environment is a little toasty, so they probably look a little stricken by the heat that they're getting right now. Pots up here, these larger pots, there are 2 varieties. These are both dwarf varieties. I said they get 2.5 feet tall. One is a multicolored beefsteak tomato. One is a medium-sized red tomato. So this experiment, hoping that these make it through the winter, hoping that we get some bugs in here to pollinate, but not enough bugs to eat everything. Down here, I have some really small dwarf varieties, which some of them actually have some flowers starting on them. If you look right there, they got flowers everywhere. These, which this one is sunburn. So when you grow tomatoes in a greenhouse, tomatoes are a soft plant. They don't like too much intensity on the sun, especially once they're transplanted out. This is sunburn. This is what sunburn looks like. This plant will be fine. Once new growth starts, I will pull that off and let the new growth come in. But that is what sunburn damage does to a plant. But this is what sunburn damage does to a plant. Here you can see I have some tomato blossoms. These are all cherry tomatoes. These dwarf varieties will not want to be in, these are called micro tom and orange hat tom. These do not want to be in anything bigger than what they're in now. They are designed to be in a small pot. They are designed to be a patio variety, and they will continuously just keep producing until they've hit the point where they're done. This is a tray of beets. These beets will not be sown into the garden. I like to eat beets, and I like beet salads, and I like stir-fried beet greens. So these are actually going to be eaten for those greens. That's why they are seated so close together in these cells. Also, to let you know, anything that is a root vegetable does not like to be transplanted out in the garden. Carrots, turnips, beets, any kind of bulbing vegetable, or root vegetable, it does not like to be transplanted. That one root is a taproot and is very delicate, and if you break it upon transplant, the rest of the plant will die. Here I have some basils. I started some more cabbages. I couldn't help myself. I just love them, the Chinese cabbages. I got some kale back there. These are actually soloist cabbages. I do have some more dwarf tomatoes started. Back here are some more tomatoes that are, those are Christmas presents for patio people. So over here I have a tray of lettuces. These are going to be eaten as microgreens, and here are baby bok choys. They're supposed to only get about an inch big, so those are going to be a fermenting project that I'm actually going to grow directly out of that tray. Here I have some seeds that are going to be put out today or started today in trays. Look, more bok choy. Here's some more kales. I'm going to fix that kale problem. Cucumbers. So I am going to clear this area out. I don't know if it's going to happen today. This area in this corner right here, I am going to be planting cucumbers. I'm going to be planting some miniature melons, and I'm going to be planting some oriental beans, because those are three things that I absolutely love in salad. And when those are growing, lettuce is not. So I'm slightly contemplating starting a small area for lettuces and greens over the summer that's going to be hydroponic, but we'll see how that goes. So behind me I have peppers, eggplants, and basils that have surprisingly withstood our frost. They were covered in a makeshift high tunnel or low tunnel, whatever you want to call it, and unfortunately they did get some burn issues. If you look here, this is burn on an eggplant. So what I'm going to do, we still didn't lose our blossoms, they still didn't open though, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, and anything that has that burn damage on it, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to feed the plant some nitrogen, encourage it to create more green growth, and hopefully that way the plant, instead of trying to repair the damage that is done, will put its energy into producing new leaves. Now remember, as I said before, this area of the garden isn't meant to be producing. It is right now, but if it gets cold enough, my only goal over the winter is that this area of the garden stays alive, because instead of having dinky little pepper plants by the time it comes May, where I'm getting a couple of peppers, I'm hoping that these things are like massive bushes just producing peppers all spring once the frost has passed. So we'll see how that overwintering experiment works. Let me go through and show you some of the peppers. So if you look at this, I got some small scale bell peppers. These are red peppers. These are going to turn red. So you can eat these green. You don't have to let these get to the point to where they turn red. These are my green bell peppers, which you can see these have more damage from the frost. My jalapenos had some massive damage too. If you look over here, even it lost its peppers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and cut the entire tops of these plants up. Hopefully they bush back up from the bottom. My shishito peppers are still doing fantastic. I just have peppers everywhere. These things are just so productive and so cool, as are my corvici peppers, which I have been eating these green. This one's starting to turn yellow a little bit. I found out I've been eating these way too soon. These are supposed to turn different colors. I've been eating them green, and I think I'm gonna wait until they actually ripen. But they are just this cool chili pepper looking pepper that turns purple or green or orange or red, and they are just the coolest. They are definitely going to be an every year thing in my garden. So here are my serrano peppers. They're not doing too good. They didn't withstand the frost as well, and neither did my jalapeno peppers. I have a lot of damage to them, but if you look, I still have quite a few jalapenos making it through. So I could probably actually come out here and pick these in the shishitos and do a fermenting project with them. So this is basil that is succumbing to a fungal disease. This is just what happens to basil in Florida, I think, because a lot of people complain about this happening to them with the dark spots. I'm going to come through here and I'm going to trim these and see if I can salvage them, spray them with a little bit of herbicide, and hopefully they come back. If not, we're just going to pull them out and I'm going to plant something else there and take advantage of this space. Now over here, if you take a look, my Thai basils, these got some frost damage on them. I mean, look at this new growth coming out here. These things are just so amazing. That was my Greek basil. It's not doing too good. I don't know what's going wrong with my Greek basil, but my Thai basil is just always super productive. Which Thai basil is really good in stir fries, and that is actually gonna go in my stir fry with my bok choy. So I'm gonna be taking some of that inside with me. Now here I have turnips. I have some red cabbages in the middle. I have some calendulas, which I thought these were rashidos, and I read the label wrong. So those are calendulas. Those are gonna be used for flowers to make tea and tonics. These are a patch of beets. My golden beets are not gonna make it, and some of these cabbages are definitely not going to make it either. So I've made the decision that some of these plants are going to come out, some of those plants are going to come out. Those Brussels sprouts there are going to stay. They look like they're doing pretty good, but these Brussels, well, that one I'll keep, but these Brussels sprouts are not doing okay. So instead of leaving them in the ground, I'm going to take them out. I'm going to plant some more seeds out here and take advantage of the space while I have it. Okay guys, so these massive beasts behind me are also, depending on how they taste, I'm going to taste them for the first time today. These are probably going to be a forever keeper in my garden, and if they pickle well and ferment as well as people say, there are the varieties of Korean and Asian radishes that I'm going to start looking into purchasing. Seeds are a little more expensive because they're specialty varieties, but the more I get into fermenting, quality is everything when it comes to preserving your own food. So I think they will be worth it. Now, this is my first time growing any type of Korean radish, and I am just blown away by these plants. They grew so fast, they grew so big, and today I'm gonna pull one of these suckers out and show you what they look like. Now, just a reminder, they are not big enough for me to harvest all of them and like make a batch of fermented radishes or to add them to my kimchi. So I am only going to pull a couple out, maybe two. These are going to be used for my stir fry and just for experimentation. It's also, once you pull them out in square foot gardening, you are giving room for the other plants that are still smaller to get larger if they are struggling. Which these things have taken over a couple of my cabbage plants. So hopefully pulling them out will give the cabbages a little more space. You know the size of these things as they're coming out of the ground, they're just massive. Let's actually just grab this sucker. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Would you look at that? That thing is huge. Dude, all I'm gonna say is 60 days. That is a plant that grows in like 60 to 70 days. And they're gonna get bigger. The other ones in there are gonna get bigger. These are just my fastest growing two that I saw peeking out of the ground. Just imagine what's going on underneath the ground that you can't see. That's the really fun part. I love that. I love that about plants. God. Okay, so those are definitely cool radishes. I'm probably gonna keep growing those if they taste good. So really quick, I got some of these are cabbages that are doing really well, kind of like this one. These are doing good. They're going to start to form heads soon, but these have a way to go. They are going to get massive. Here I have carrots all down this row. Carrots, carrots, carrots. There's onions in between. Carrots on the outside. Here I have more radicchio forming some wonderful heads. Here I have some black carrots, which these have all been thinned down to one. These are my atomic red carrots, and down the end my bambino carrots and my culinary carrots. These have been thinned to two. I'm going to try an experiment where hopefully I can pull some baby carrots out of here without damaging the original taproot of the parent next to it that I want to eat. Here, these are all little parsnips, which have all been thinned to one. Some more healthy cabbage, which is doing much better than my not so healthy cabbage. Here is my first experiment with kohlrabi. So I'm gonna have to come over here and get the broccoli out of the way. They're starting to take over all the sunlight here. So really quick, this is Chinese broccoli. I just want you guys to take a look at how intricate and massive these plants are. Now, it is supposed to grow broccoli up the center of the plant, but you're supposed to be able to take these greens and eat them. So I'm going to take, not the big ones. Big ones are usually going to be a little tart. I am going to cut these back, give the other plants a little more space because they are taking over all the sunlight for the other broccolis and the cauliflowers. So we're going to come out today and trim these up and give them some nitrogen so they get more green growth. And I'm going to actually eat some of those in that stir fry too. So behind me, this part of the garden looks fantastic. That other garden pretty much looks fantastic. This one lone bed right behind me looks so sad and awful. and it is not growing through the way that I planned it. This is the last bed that was really given any attention this year. It was the bed that over the summer was left with weeds. So I'll show you a couple of things that are in here, but today I am going to go through. I am going to sow some more carrots because there was an issue with watering. I am going to put more bok choy out here, and I think I'm going to try to do something to salvage the herbs I have down there because they are just not making it the way that I want them to. I think something that I should probably take a minute to talk about as a gardener. So one thing about being a gardener, like I left my whole spring season behind me because I did not have enough hours in the day to work. I was working like 52, 54 hours a week to get the money to build that garden. And with working all that overtime, I, of course, in the heat of summer, did not have the time to build it, uncover this garden, clean this garden out, and open this garden for fall. So in fall, we missed pumpkins, we missed squash, we missed cucumber, we missed beans, we missed corn, we missed any kind of melon, any kind of fruit vegetable. And beans is the big thing that I grow out here, and tomatoes and peppers. So tomatoes are a huge thing. I love homemade tomato sauce. Refuse to eat tomato from the grocery store. They're gross. Even farmers, I don't know what they put on their tomatoes, but a homegrown tomato is better than a tomato from a farm. I will say that. Maybe just because I grew it, I think it tastes better, but it does. But one of the things about it gardening is knowing when to throw in the towel on a certain project. So this project behind me is not working out as well as I want it to. So I have to throw in the towel. I have to do some rearranging. I have to pull some seeds out here. I have to think, what do I want to put out here that I can use the space for, that I know will grow efficiently compared to the mess that I accidentally made. So I went through my seeds this morning. I already have some bok choy growing out here. I think this is going to be my slicing bok choy. I might even cut some of these out of here and do my baby fermented project. But I am going to definitely take some of these carrots out that aren't working out well. I'm going to sow in some more daikon radishes because I think I'm going to love those. Some more bok choy, and we're going to try to fix the herb situation, which I already tried to fix. It might be working out with the Chinese celery, but here, I'll show you. You guys can make your own opinion. But just remember, the plan always changes. It doesn't always stay the same. If things don't go according to what you think, don't stay upset. Just kind of pick up your shovel and try something else. It's always moving forward. And if you don't take the time to put the seeds in the ground, the plants will not grow. So if something is not working well, try something else. So here behind me, I have my red rhubarb Brussels sprouts, which are finally starting to actually look like we might get Brussels sprouts sometime this year. And Brussels sprouts take a long time to grow. They need a ton of nitrogen. They need a ton of water. But other than that, they're a pretty self-sufficient brassica crop. Here, I stuck a random Chinese broccoli over and it didn't transplant well, but now it looks like it's alive, so that's better than it was. Here, I have some more Chinese broccoli and I have some broccoli rapini. Along here, I have carrots, and these carrots are not growing evenly. They were sown easily, but if you notice, this row here along the edge of the bed is the row that hasn't grown in, and that's because of a watering issue. Also, you can see there are some little carrot sprouts over there, but there's like patchy starting, and that might be from old seed. This is not. This was brand new seed, and if all of this is starting, there is no reason why that shouldn't have started. What it is that when these were watered, carrot starts when they first start to grow like to be constantly watered. And what I'm guessing is when somebody came in here and watered these, which I'm thankful that they watered my garden, they probably didn't water all the way to the edge. And when those carrots were starting to grow, they didn't make the hardening off process, and they just kind of passed away, unfortunately. Let them rest. I still have quite a few growing. That row, I think I'm just going to take out and start again with a different type of carrot and use that space for some more greens because I'm getting the juicer. So I think it would be more effective to, instead of hope that that grows, same with the golden beets that are out here, instead of hoping that they grow, we're going to change over and do something else. Dun, dun, dun. Guess what, guys? More bok choy. We have some more bok choy over here. These herbs, unfortunately, for some reason, the tarragon's going to take a while to grow. Tarragon grows pretty slowly. I don't even remember what that is, in all honesty. Didn't give it the time of day. I got some chives back there. Here I have some cilantro, which I'm going to put that in breakfast for tomorrow. I'm going to make some eggs with cilantro, a little Baja sauce, and a little salsa. The basils over there aren't doing too hot. These are all spring onions, which I'm going to actually start more spring onion crop because I think that I will use these a lot in cooking, a lot more than I thought I would originally. And then here, originally I planted some radicchios, which didn't make it. I think they got eaten by rabbits. I came out here and there's a rabbit out here one night. I think he was the culprit. And then I have my Chinese celery I had leftovers, so I just decided to use this space, plant them out here, and grow something that I knew was going to grow. And look at that. I mean, right from my backyard, all organic, no chemicals, no pesticides, no hormones. This is real food. Quick tip for anybody that lives in Florida, always check your hammock before you get in it. I just chased a big fuzzy brown spider off with a stick. He didn't look too happy. He wasn't that big, he was like that big, he was like tan and fuzzy, but he's probably gonna be something fierce when he grows up. He's somewhere over there right now. I'm just gonna mind my P's and Q's and stay over here. So also I have a project that I'm just starting to work on. It is gonna be a project about food. It's gonna be a project about health. This is not going to be a project about a keto diet or a project about Whole30. This is going to be me researching where my food comes from, finding the freshest food I possibly can, and putting the groundwork into understanding what I'm really putting in my body and how my body is responding to it. There's probably going to be a lot of things on this channel that are going to step outside of the garden at this point, in terms of, I mean, I can't grow meat. I don't have any livestock, so I don't have any eggs, I don't have any chickens, I don't have a cow, so I can't make butter. It's going to be a really interesting project, and I'm probably going to be really hungry and cranky for a while, so if you really want to see my sassy side, start watching. But in that, I hope that you guys enjoy the garden. I hope that it inspires you to get out and to get your hands dirty and grow a little food yourself. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If there's anything you want to see, let me know. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend, and I'll probably be posting an update about the new project here. I think I'll have a thesis formulated in probably about a week or so, so I'll just keep you guys posted, and then in about another month we'll be going on another garden tour. So have a good weekend, guys.